I am an old man now. My hair is gray and my face has many lines. But I remember my teenage years very well. I often think about those days. Those days were hard for me, but they taught me many lessons. When I was young, I was a teacher. I loved my job. Every morning I woke up early, put on my best shirt, and walked to school. The children waited for me in the classroom. They smiled when they saw me, and I smiled back. Teaching was my passion. I taught them new words, simple math, and stories about the world. Their eyes were full of curiosity. At the end of the day, they waved goodbye, and I felt proud. At home, my wife Emily was waiting for me. She was a kind woman with a warm heart. We had been married for many years. Our house was small but full of love. We cooked together, laughed together, and talked about our day. But one day, Emily became sick. At first, it was just a small cough. Then she became weak. She stayed in bed all day. We went to the doctor. He checked Emily and gave her medicine. She must rest, he said. The medicine would help, but it was expensive. I paid for the first bottle, but I did not have enough money for more. Every day, Emily needed the medicine. Every day I worried. My salary was small. It was not enough. At school, I tried to focus. The children laughed and played, but I was not happy. My mind was full of worries. How could I buy more medicine? How could I help Emily? My heart was heavy. My students asked, "Teacher, are you okay?" I smiled and said yes, but it was not true. At night, I sat beside Emily. She held my hand and whispered, "Do not worry." But I did worry. Her face was pale, and she looked so tired. I wanted to help her, but I did not know how. I needed money. I needed it fast. But I had no idea what to do. One night I walked outside. The streets were empty and quiet. The shops were closed. I passed by a small store. Through the window, I saw food, drinks, and a cash register full of money. My heart started to beat fast. A thought came to me. An idea I did not like, but I was desperate. I stood there for a long time. My hands were shaking. My mind was full of fear. I knew it was wrong. I was a teacher, an honest man, but Emily needed medicine. I took a deep breath. I had to make a choice. I stood in front of the store, my heart beating fast. The streets were dark and empty. No one was watching. I looked at the cash register inside. There was money. Money I needed. My hands were shaking. I knew it was wrong, but I could not stop thinking about Emily. She was at home, sick in bed, waiting for medicine. I took a deep breath. My mind was full of fear and doubt. I stepped closer to the door. It was locked. Of course, it was locked. I looked around and saw a small rock on the ground. My fingers felt cold as I picked it up. My whole body was shaking. Was I really going to do this? I had never stolen anything before. I was a teacher, an honest man, but I was also a husband. Emily needed me. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to push away my guilt. With one quick motion, I threw the rock at the glass. The sound of breaking glass filled the silent street. My heart jumped. I waited, listening. No one came, no one shouted. The street remained quiet. I reached inside and unlocked the door. My hands were sweating. I stepped inside, my legs feeling weak. The store smelled like bread and fruit. I could see the money in the register. I moved quickly. I grabbed some bills and stuffed them into my pocket. My hands were shaking so much that I almost dropped the money. Then I heard a noise. My heart stopped. Someone was outside. I froze, listening. Footsteps. Was it a policeman? A neighbor? I held my breath, my body stiff with fear. The footsteps grew louder. I had to get out. I turned and ran. I did not stop to look back. My feet pounded against the ground as I raced through the dark streets. My chest was tight. I felt like I could not breathe. I had never been so scared in my life. When I reached home, I quickly shut the door behind me. My hands were still shaking. I leaned against the wall, trying to calm down. What had I done? Emily was asleep. She did not know what I had done. I took the money from my pocket and placed it on the table. It did not feel real. My heart was still racing. I told myself I had no choice. It was for Emily. It was for her medicine. But deep inside, I felt something heavy. It was guilt. I had stolen. I had broken the law, and I could not take it back. I sat beside Emily and held her hand. Her skin felt warm. She opened her eyes slowly and gave me a weak smile. "You are still awake," she whispered. I forced a smile. "Yes," I said. But I did not tell her what I had done. I did not want her to know. I just wanted her to get better. That was all that mattered. The next morning I woke up early. The money was still on the table. I stared at it for a long time. It was enough to buy Emily's medicine. But it did not feel right. My hands were still shaking from the night before. I had stolen it. I had broken the law. I tried to push the thought away. Emily needed me. I had no other choice. I went to the pharmacy and bought the medicine. The pharmacist smiled and handed me the bottle. "This will help her," he said. I nodded but did not say a word. My mouth felt dry. I took the bottle and left quickly. I felt like everyone was watching me, like they knew what I had done. I kept my head down and walked home fast. When I got home, Emily was awake. She looked pale and tired. I sat beside her and gave her the medicine. She smiled weakly and whispered, "Thank you." Her voice was soft, but it warmed my heart. I watched as she took the first sip. I hoped it would make her better soon. I needed her to be strong again. That day at school, I could not focus. My students laughed and played, but I was lost in my thoughts. Every time I heard footsteps in the hallway, I felt my heart jump. What if someone had seen me last night? What if the police were coming? I tried to act normal, but I felt heavy inside. My hands were cold. My mind was full of fear. Days passed, and Emily slowly got better. Her face had more color. She could sit up and eat. She even smiled more. It made me happy. But the guilt inside me did not go away. Every night I thought about the store. I thought about the broken glass, the stolen money, and my shaking hands. I was not the same person anymore. One evening, I walked past the store again. The window had been fixed. The lights were on inside. The shopkeeper stood behind the counter, helping customers. He looked tired, but calm. I wondered if he knew. I wondered if he thought about that night. My chest felt tight. I wanted to say something. I wanted to fix what I had done. But how? I walked home slowly, my head full of thoughts. Emily greeted me with a warm smile. "I feel much better," she said. I forced a smile back. I should have been happy, but deep inside, I knew the truth. I had saved Emily, but I had lost something else, myself. Days passed, but the guilt did not leave me. Every night I lay awake staring at the ceiling. I thought about the store, the broken glass, and the stolen money. My heart felt heavy. I told myself I had done it for Emily, but that did not make it right. I was not a thief. I was a teacher, an honest man. But now, I felt like a different person. At school, my students noticed the change in me. "Teacher, are you okay?" they asked. I forced a smile and nodded. "Yes, I am fine," I said. But I was not fine. My hands were cold. My mind was full of worries. I could not focus on teaching. Every time I heard footsteps outside the classroom, I felt afraid. What if someone knew? What if the police came? I could not run from my fear. One evening, I walked past the store again. The shopkeeper was inside, counting money. He looked tired. I wondered if he still thought about that night. Did he feel angry? Did he feel scared? My chest felt tight. I wanted to walk in and tell him the truth, but my legs would not move. I stood there for a long time, watching him, feeling ashamed. Then I turned and walked away. At home, Emily was getting better. She could sit up for longer. She could eat without feeling weak. Her smile was warm again. "You look tired," she said, touching my hand. I shook my head. "I am just thinking," I replied. She did not ask more. She just held my hand. Her touch was gentle, but it made my guilt stronger. She did not know what I had done. I did not want her to know. That night, I sat alone at the table. I thought about my life before this. I was a simple man, a good man. I taught children. I worked hard. I believed in honesty. But now, I was different. I had crossed a line. Even though no one knew, I knew. And that was enough to make me feel lost. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I needed to fix this. I needed to make it right. But how? I could not undo what I had done. I could not erase the past. But maybe I could do something good. Maybe I could find a way to give back what I had taken. I opened my eyes and looked around the small room. Emily was sleeping peacefully. The house was quiet. I had made a mistake, but I still had a choice. I could live with my guilt, or I could try to fix it. And in that moment, I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I woke up with a decision in my heart. I could not carry this guilt any longer. I had to make things right. I did not know how, but I knew I had to try. I got dressed and left the house early. The air was cold and my hands were shaking. My feet felt heavy as I walked toward the store. My heart pounded in my chest, but I kept moving forward. When I reached the store, I stopped outside. The shopkeeper was inside, arranging goods on the shelves. He looked tired, but calm. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. My legs felt weak, but I pushed myself to go in. The bell above the door rang as I entered. The shopkeeper looked up and gave me a small smile. "Good morning," he said. I swallowed hard and nodded slowly. For a moment, I just stood there. My throat was dry. My hands felt cold. I wanted to speak, but the words would not come out. The shopkeeper waited, looking at me with kind eyes. Finally, I reached into my pocket and pulled out some money. It was not the same money I had stolen, but it was all I had. I placed it on the counter and took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "This is for you," I said quietly. My voice was shaking. The shopkeeper looked at the money, then at me. He frowned. "What is this for?" he asked. I felt my heart race. My mouth felt dry. I wanted to tell him everything. I wanted to confess, but my fear held me back. "I just want to help," I said instead. "Please take it. It belongs here." The shopkeeper studied my face for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was a small, tired smile, but it was kind. "Thank you," he said. He did not ask more. He did not push for answers. He simply took the money and placed it in the register. I felt my body relax just a little. I had not told the truth, but I had taken the first step toward making things right. As I walked home, the weight on my chest felt lighter. The past could not be erased, but maybe I could still do good. Maybe I could be the man I used to be. I had made a mistake, but I was trying to fix it. That had to count for something. The road ahead was still uncertain, but I felt hope again. Emily greeted me with a warm smile when I returned. "You look better," she said softly. I smiled back. "I think I am," I whispered, and for the first time in a long while I believed it. The days passed, and something inside me began to change. The weight on my chest was still there, but it was lighter now. I had taken the first step. It was not enough, but it was something. I still thought about that night, about the glass breaking and my shaking hands, but now I also thought about the shopkeeper's smile. Maybe I could still make things right. At school, I felt more like myself again. My students laughed and played, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled with them. "Teacher, you look happy today," one of the children said. I nodded. "Yes, I think I am," I replied. My voice felt steadier. My heart felt lighter. But deep inside, I knew there was still one more thing I had to do. That evening, I walked to the store again. The shopkeeper was sweeping the floor, preparing to close for the night. I hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside. He looked up and smiled. "Back again?" he asked. I nodded, feeling my hands tremble. This time, I had not come to return money. This time, I had come for the truth. I took a deep breath. My heart was racing, but I did not stop. "I have to tell you something," I said. The shopkeeper put down his broom and looked at me closely. My throat felt dry, but I forced myself to continue. That night, the broken window, the money, it was me. I confessed. The words felt heavy as they left my mouth. My hands were cold. My chest felt tight. For a long moment, the shopkeeper said nothing. I waited, my heart pounding. Then, to my surprise, he sighed and nodded. "I knew," he said simply. My eyes widened. "You knew?" I whispered. He gave me a small, tired smile. I didn't see you, but I had a feeling. You looked guilty that morning, and now you are here. His voice was calm, not angry, not cruel, just understanding. I felt my breath catch in my throat. I had expected anger. I had expected shouting, but not this. I'm sorry, I said, my voice shaking. I was desperate. My wife was sick. I had no choice. The shopkeeper nodded slowly. I understand, he said. But there is always a choice. His words were gentle, but they hit me deep. He was right. I had made a choice, a wrong one. I looked down at my hands. How can I make it right? I asked. The shopkeeper thought for a moment, then smiled. Come work for me, he said. Help me in the store. Learn what it means to give instead of take. His words surprised me. I had come expecting punishment, but instead, I was given a chance. A second chance. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. I hope this session was helpful. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more such interesting stories. Take care, everyone.